And so if we think back what it was Jesus was saying about loving your neighbor as yourself, it really sets up for us a phrase that I've talked about before with you. And that is to be in right relationship with other people and with the very world that we inhabit. Being in right relation means, first of all, not dominating others. It means sharing the power that we have so that we create equality. It means living in peace with others. It makes me think about some of the ways in which we have not been good stewards of the earth, ways in which we have dominated instead of having dominion over. This weekend is the 1-year anniversary of the earthquakes and the tsunami in Japan. Of course, then it's also the 1-year anniversary of the nuclear disaster that followed. Of course, we could contend that an earthquake and a tsunami doesn't quite sound like the earth is in right relationship with us, right? This is true. There are things that happen in nature that are beyond our control, and ways in which nature wreaks havoc in our lives that are completely beyond our control. But there are other things which are within our control. Ways in which we can be in right relation with creation in which we have not been. I keep coming back to this idea about the nuclear power plant and the cleanup effort that is happening there in Japan. There are hundreds and thousands of acres of land that are radioactive. And there's a cleanup effort that's happening, but they don't exactly know how that's supposed to work, nor if they do it in a particular way, if it will be good for the earth in the end. There are some things that we do that we don't know the full extent of what it is we are doing. And therefore, if something goes wrong, we end up creating disasters. Think of the Gulf and the oil spill that happened in the Gulf. It will be decades before we understand the full implications of what our domination over that part of the world, what effects that has wrought. It makes our brains twist a little to think about creation and to think about the ways in which it is supposed to reflect to us the perfection of God's law. But it all boils down to the very things that Jesus talked about with the man who asked, what are the most important of the laws? It's about being in right relationship with God and with each other. Not just people, but with all of creation. So that all of creation inevitably can sing God's praises. And so the question for us always is, what will we do about it? What will you do? How will you go home and make what changes you can to be a good steward of the earth? To have dominion over, but not to dominate your little square of creation. I think if each of us can go home and answer that question for ourselves, then truly God's law will reflect the perfection that it was intended to. And all of God's creation will sing God's praises. Amen.